We have received an offer to sell the Frederick Douglass High School, which we don't want to do, but at the same time, you guys are donating, and we thank you, all the donors, for donating. But at the same time, money is not coming easy. Money is not coming easy.
Dr. Umar Johnson has always danced on the edge of charisma and chaos, but in 2025, he pulled a stunt so wild that even his most loyal ride-or-die supporters were left speechless. For more than a decade, he crowned himself the self-proclaimed Prince of Pan-Africanism, the booming voice that demanded loyalty, sacrifice, and endless donations for the liberation of the people. He was that man who could light up a stage with fire and brimstone speeches, making crowds feel like they were witnessing history. The man who convinced thousands that the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy wasn't just a school, it was supposed to be a fortress, a sanctuary, the first independent academy dedicated to young black boys in America. People didn't just donate pocket change, they emptied bank accounts, skipped vacations, canceled luxuries, and poured millions into the dream. Critics called him a slick talker, a hustler in a dashiki. But to his supporters, he was a savior, a chosen leader walking in Garvey's shadow. No matter which side you stood on, one thing was undeniable. Umar had the streets buzzing and the internet locked in. And then, boom, the twist that no one saw coming. Dr. Umar Johnson announced he had launched an OnlyFans account priced at $111 a month.
Brothers and sisters, yes, I started an OnlyFans page. What is it? OnlyFans/Dr. Umar Ifatunde. I haven't added any content yet to the OnlyFans page. I need to play with it, learn how to work it. It will be all political content, educational content. I think I'm going to load up heavily on Black parent content.
If that wasn't shocking enough, he almost casually admitted that someone had offered to buy the entire FDMG campus outright. The same FDMG he once called sacred ground. The news exploded across social media like dynamite. Just imagine it. The same man who ridiculed rappers for chasing fast money, the same man who told people to give up Starbucks, sneakers, and luxury trips to fund the mission, now turning around and pitching an account on a platform infamous for late-night scandals instead of late-night study sessions. Sure, he tried to clean it up. Umar claimed there would be no nonsense, just educational content on politics, parenting, and community leadership. But let's be real, when people hear OnlyFans, nobody's thinking about textbooks or Pan-African manifestos. The irony was too heavy for the internet to ignore. Twitter went into a frenzy. One viral post read, 10 years of fundraising and this man gives us a $111 OnlyFans page instead of a classroom. TikTok creators wasted no time. They were under neon ring lights, shouting peace and Black Power family while pretending to upload exclusive content. YouTube commentators dropped exposés with titles like The School That Never Opened and Umar's $1 Million Mirage. Meanwhile, Instagram turned into a digital war zone, supporters urging patience, critics celebrating their "I told you so" moment, and donors sitting in silence, scrolling through their receipts, wondering if they'd been hustled. But here's the part that cut the deepest. It wasn't even the OnlyFans launch that truly broke people down. It was the confession. Umar admitted that he had seriously entertained an offer to sell the FDMG property. For over 10 years, he described that Delaware campus as sacred soil, the cornerstone of his vision, the monument to every single donation. And now he slipped up and revealed that selling it would put him in a very comfortable position. Comfortable. That one word sliced through his supporters like glass. Because if the same man who once demanded people sacrifice rent money and car notes to build the dream was now weighing a sale for his own comfort, what did that say about the movement itself? The fury in Wilmington was instant and raw. To them, this wasn't just a piece of land, this was legacy. They had imagined generations of young Black boys walking proudly through those doors, carrying the spirit of Garvey and Douglass on their shoulders. Now, instead of a ribbon cutting, they were facing the possibility of watching that same property get flipped to real estate developers, while Umar teased relocation ideas. Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, Houston, even Africa. To the local community, it felt like betrayal. To his critics, it was the smoking gun they had been waiting for. And Umar, true to form, didn't back down. Instead, he did what Umar always does. He flipped the entire scandal into a so-called test of loyalty. On his live stream, he thundered at the screen like a preacher calling down fire. If we hold on to the Douglas building, how long is it gonna take y'all to raise $1 million to renovate it? He dared his supporters to step up or watch the dream die right there in Delaware. But let's be real, this wasn't empowerment. It was guilt tripping dressed up as a sermon. Umar shifted the burden onto the very people who had already sacrificed vacations, savings, and car notes for a school that still hadn't opened its doors. Forums lit up like wildfire with heated debates breaking out everywhere. Was this Umar finally being transparent, or was it just another slick hustle to squeeze a dwindling donor base? Meanwhile, YouTube commentators had a field day, overlaying his rants with Cash App handles flashing across the screen, while critics rolled their eyes at yet another digital collection plate. And then came the sting of the past. Old clips of his own daughter resurfaced, hinting at family tension and raising even more questions about his credibility. The OnlyFans bombshell only added fuel to the fire. Critics called it desperation, while die-hard supporters tried to spin it as genius. They clapped back saying Umar was being innovative, using modern platforms to fund the revolution. They claimed OnlyFans could be rebranded as a hub for educational content, and that maybe selling FDMG wasn't selling out at all. Maybe it was a strategic pivot to expand somewhere bigger, better, and bolder. But let's not sugarcoat it. Nothing about this looked powerful. It looked like survival mode. The man once hailed as an uncompromising general of Pan-African liberation now resembled a hustler juggling cash apps, PayPal links, and $111 subscriptions just to stay afloat. And just when folks thought he couldn't throw any more curveballs, Umar dropped another twist that had people shaking their heads. He announced he was searching for a female lecture partner. Not a wife, not a co-founder, but a stage twin. She had to be his mirror image, a die-hard nationalist, loyal to the bone, untouched by haters or critics. To his fans, it was eccentric, but expected. To his detractors, pure ego wrapped in theatrics. The internet didn't hold back. Memes came flying in like arrows. One viral image showed Umar in a tuxedo holding roses, captioned, "Now hiring Dr. Umar's female twin, school not included." Another side-by-side had flyers advertising auditions, paired with shots of the boarded-up FDMG campus, weeds crawling through cracks like a cruel punchline. The ridicule was brutal, but behind the chaos, one truth stood tall. Donations had slowed to a crawl. After 10 years of fiery speeches and promises, people were tired of talk. They wanted classrooms, not excuses. And every time Umar repeated his chants, "Get on your Cash App, family, $FDMG school. Get on your PayPal, mail in your checks," the urgency in his voice told the real story. The man who once moved crowds to tears now sounded cornered by his own words. The aura of invincibility around Dr. Umar Johnson, it had finally cracked. On one side, there's still the image of a leader demanding sacrifice for liberation. But on the other, there's a man scrambling to keep his empire from crumbling right before our eyes. On the other side stands a man hustling on OnlyFans and openly debating whether to sell the very building donors once fought tooth and nail to secure. His base is torn in two. Some whisper it's time to admit the dream is dead, while others beg him to hold on. But no matter where you stand, one truth is undeniable. The legend of Umar will never be the same, because whether he cashes out on FDMG or clings to it, whether his OnlyFans soars or crashes, whether that mythical female twin ever appears, the reality is clear. The man who once boasted about being the most requested black scholar in the world is now reduced to asking his own followers to decide his fate. And in leadership, that's not strength, it's weakness. This isn't just another twist in the saga. This is the breaking point where the entire movement is forced to stare in the mirror and ask, was it ever really about building a school? Or was it always about building a spectacle? And when the shock of Dr. Umar Johnson's OnlyFans launch collided with whispers of selling FDMG, the internet didn't quiet down, it erupted. By the time his live stream cut off, Twitter threads stretched for miles, TikTok memes racked up millions of views, and YouTube commentators sharpened their knives like they had been waiting for this very moment. What Umar tried to spin as a bold fundraising pivot spiraled into something much bigger, a cultural event, a global referendum on pride, money, and the blurred line between leadership and performance. For years, Umar thrived on being untouchable. His booming voice and endless confidence had been his shield, his armor, his ticket to deflect accountability. Whenever critics pressed him, he leaned on charisma. But this time, the contradictions were too loud, too messy, too impossible to ignore. Supporters rushed to defend him online, reposting his claim that OnlyFans will be an educational hub, not scandal. They swore he was adapting to modern tools, not selling out. But let's be honest, when people hear OnlyFans, nobody's picturing history lessons, they're picturing scandal. That was the first crack in the illusion. Critics wasted no time twisting the knife. One viral tweet summed it all up in brutal fashion. 10 years of donations, and this man gives us an OnlyFans page instead of a school bell. TikTok lit up with comedy skits. People under cheap ring lights, chanting peace and black power while pretending to upload exclusive content to Umar's page. Memes went viral comparing Netflix at $15.99, Disney Plus at $9.99, and Umar's OnlyFans at $111, captioned, "Which one actually educates your kids?" The sarcasm hit like a slap. For people who skipped meals and sacrificed rent checks for his dream, the idea that Umar's comfort could outweigh their struggle cut deeper than any meme ever could. The contradictions kept piling up. One minute Umar thundered, "The school must be preserved at all costs." The next, he was floating relocation ideas, Baltimore, Chicago, Houston, even Africa. To his loyalists, it sounded visionary. To everyone else, it reeked of desperation. The fallout spread like wildfire. Donors hit Instagram Live waving dusty receipts from years ago. One woman broke down crying on camera, "I believed in him. I believed this was for the boys in my community." Now, he's talking about selling the dream we built together. I can't forgive that her words went viral because they weren't polished. They were raw, dripping with heartbreak. Thousands didn't even comment. They just watched in silence, realizing they felt the same betrayal. Meanwhile, Umar doubled down with his chants. Get on your Cash App, family. $ FDMG School. Get on your PayPal, brothers and sisters. Mail in your checks. But instead of looking powerful, every new plea made him look weaker. The man who once brought audiences to tears with fiery speeches now sounded like someone begging just to keep the lights on. His sound bites weren't inspiring anymore. They were meme material. The internet turned his desperation into punchlines. The money had slowed to a crawl. After 10 years of talk, people weren't buying speeches anymore. They wanted classrooms, not excuses, and whispers about unpaid property taxes, even foreclosure threats, only poured gasoline on the fire. Critics dug up old clips where Umar bragged, "I don't need anyone's help. I am the King Kong of consciousness." Now those very words were stitched side by side with his Cash App begging banners, exposing just how far the mighty had fallen. Please tearing his myth apart in real time didn't stop him. Umar kept the energy high, blasting haters, shouting out donors from Africa, and painting himself as the eternal victim of sabotage. And believe it or not, in some corners, it worked. Small donations trickled in, but faith doesn't pay contractors. Faith doesn't renovate classrooms. Faith doesn't stop foreclosure. Only money does. And that left the million-dollar question hanging in the air. Would Dr. Umar Johnson actually sell FDMG if the money never came through? His answers were always slippery. Never a clear yes, never a firm no. That vagueness kept speculation alive, fueling endless debates, fresh memes, and nonstop exhaustion for his loyal donors. For critics, it was confirmation. For the wider public, it was comedy, because the truth was staring everyone in the face. After more than a decade of fundraising, millions collected, there were still no students, no teachers, no classrooms. The FDMG campus didn't stand as a victory. It stood as a monument to promises never kept. And then you add an OnlyFans at $111 on top of that. The contradiction was impossible to ignore. And yet, one thing stayed consistent. Umar knows how to command the spotlight. Every scandal keeps him trending. Every controversy keeps his name alive. He may not have delivered a school, but he has mastered survival through spectacle. In today's world of clicks, outrage, and memes, maybe that's all he really needs. But the spotlight doesn't last forever. Memes fade, outrage burns out, and when the noise finally dies down, one question will still hang in the air: what is really left behind? So tell me, what do you think? Is Umar a visionary who got trapped in his own hype, or a hustler who played his followers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.